Hi everyone, my name's Kit and I've got another video on productivity for you today. So back in January, I watched a podcast with Joe Rogan. He was interviewing an MMA fighter, and then that led me to a podcast about intermittent fasting. And then that led me to a third podcast with a guy named Dr Panda. Yes, that's his real name, Dr Panda. It was a 2-hour podcast. And what I'll do is I'll link the video in the description down below. It is a very technical video, so don't be alarmed. You might want to choose to read his book instead, and this is a little bit more user-friendly. So in his video, he talks about things like gene expression, the different functioning part of the brain, and even some of the animal studies, and so it's quite technical, but I'll recommend you read the book. So let me tell you a little bit of a premise about the book. So it's about the idea of a circadian rhythm. So a circadian rhythm is that inside our bodies, we have an internal biological clock that kind of controls all the different functioning of our organs, and it starts with our brain. So there's a clock in our brain, and there's also little clocks in like our liver, our hearts, and our lungs, and that helps us to function. So as I was saying, the main clock is in our brain. And so our circadian rhythm is about 24 hours, but slightly more. And so how our body recalibrates each day is by sunlight. So when our eyes see sunlight, it actually recalibrates our brain and resets it. So it makes it sure it's about 24 hours every day. However, the problem is, since our lifestyle that we live nowadays is more like a shift worker than it is following this kind of 24-hour rhythm. The way we kind of eat, the way we sleep, the way our exposure to sunlight, it actually has shifted and affected our natural rhythm. 4 things that affect our circadian rhythm, and I've drawn a little diagram. So the 4 things are our exposure to light, exercise, sleep, and eating. So I've drawn a little diagram. So the 2 reasons why I actually gave this a go is because 1, I love experiments, and particularly the idea of intermittent fasting. So to be honest, I was actually very skeptical about the idea of intermittent fasting, and my background has been in nutrition and dietitian work. So I was quite skeptical that this actually worked and it was helpful for the human body. So I wanted to kind of experiment on myself. And I quite like how Dr. Panda doesn't use the word intermittent fasting, but he actually used time-restricted eating instead. And I think the terminology really matters, because when you use the word fasting, you're really focusing on the motivation is like trying to lose weight, and so the fasting is the focus. But with time-restricted eating, the focus is on eating. So you're focusing on a healthy lifestyle that actually helps your body and to help it function better. And the second reason that I really want to give it a go was the idea that it will give you more energy and help you to better concentrate. So I thought that sounded like a really great benefit. So the thing that also convinced me was the idea of our body being almost like a kitchen. So if you imagine like this kitchen, our human body has an opening hour and a closing hour. So imagine if the kitchen has closed, but then you started wanting to order food again, the kitchen has to reopen everything. And it was meant to kind of slow down and use that closing time to clean up or renovate. It can't do that anymore. So our body needs time, a certain period of time. So Dr. Panda thinks about 13 hours to repair our cells, repair our body, creates the enzyme that we need. So I wanted to give this a go. So I wanted to tell you how I implemented this method. So I started in January, and I downloaded his app. And the app is called My Circadian Clock. So I'll put the link down below as well. And so for the clock, for the app, you do the trial for 14 weeks. And during that time, you take photos of your meal, you record your exercise, you record your weight, you record your sleep, a whole lot of different parameters that he collects. And it's part of the human study that he's doing. So he wanted to collect the human data to see whether it not only is repeatable in animals, but also in human. So I participated in that study. And so after that, I've been continuing with that since then. So what I've changed in terms of my lifestyle is that I've changed to 11-hour eating window. I eat between 8 a.m. and 7 p.m. each day. Exercise wise, I haven't really changed anything. I continue to exercise in the morning, and he recommends exercising before 3 p.m. Sleep wise, it's been the same. So I kind of still sleep about 8 hours, and I usually have the same regular pattern. And light wise, sunlight wise, that's been changed. So he recommends getting sunlight exposure in the morning. So I've been trying to get up each morning and just even go for a quick walk or look outside so I can get some sunlight exposure. So those are the things that have changed. So you're probably wondering, what was the results, Kit? Tell me what happened. So after about the 4 months of doing the trial, I've noticed that, and even since post as well, so in total it's been about 6 months, that I have had less issues with reflux. So occasionally I would get reflux. I haven't noticed reflux in the last couple of months. My gut has been quite regular. I haven't had any gut issues. Hopefully this is not too much information, but like my poo has been quite regular in the morning, which is really great. What else? In terms of sleep wise, I have been sleeping quite well, and I think about 9 o'clock, my body's like, it knows that's bedtime. So I can just feel it that it's bedtime and I need to sleep, and I don't even need a clock, and I know kind of when 9 p.m. hits. So yeah, that's been good with regular sleep and more in sync with that. And also I can sleep quite quickly. So chronically I've been having issues with, like, I guess, going to bed. So nowadays I can fall asleep within about 15 minutes listening to my audiobook, which is quite amazing. And another effect that it's had on my body that wasn't my intention was I lost about 1 kilo. So I chose the 11-hour eating window because that was one to just kind of keep your weight stable. But I think because I've had less snacks in the evening, less munchies, then that's actually lost the 1 kilo. If you were trying to do this program with the focus of weight loss, then Dr. Panda recommends sticking to an 8-hour eating window. So what's my evaluation of this whole thing? So I think it's actually, I would recommend you to give it a go, because I think the potential benefit of like prevention of chronic diseases is definitely worth giving this a go. And I think it kind of makes sense with what the human body, our natural way of functioning and how it's designed and made. So I think it kind of sinks into that. So I think I would definitely recommend giving it a go. So what has been hard for me is that initially I found it really hard with, wanting to snack after dinner. So after 7 o'clock, my natural, habit was to snack on chips before bed. So it was really hard in the beginning to kind of say, no, Kit, you can't eat that. And what has actually been really good that I've noticed is that I don't actually have cravings before my period, before my menstrual cycle. So before I would always have a craving for chips. And in the last 6 months, I haven't had that, which is, quite amazing. The other thing that I think is going to be tricky as well can be tricky because socially. So not eating dinner after 7, so trying to eat, dinner and catch up with people before 7, that could be potentially tricky. And also with the sleep, because I like to go to bed by 9, that can be hard for like catching up with friends, in the evening. So you can actually adjust the time frame, but Dr. Panda recommend keeping the same 11-hour window. So you can choose which 11-hour window that you want to choose, but I just chose the 8 to 7. So just a point of clarification about the 11-hour window. So within the 11-hour window, this is where eating and water and my vitamins, and then outside the window, it's just water. So everything inside the window, I can have my tea, I can have my food, I can have my drinks, I have my vitamins within that window, but outside of it is just water. And because I don't take any medication, if you took medication, then obviously stick to that medication routine. But because I don't, the outside the window is only water. And yeah, so please read the book because it actually has heaps more information. I just kind of adapted it to what I needed. So there's heaps more information that can be personalized and specific to you. And the other thing that I recommend using is another app called Zero. It's just a really easy way to kind of keep track when the eating starts and finishes. I often forget. So it's just a really easy way, I guess, another way not to kind of have to think too much about it. It keeps track of when you start eating and when you're meant to be stopping eating. And so yeah, give it a go and let me know how it goes in the description box below. Catch you next time. 4 hours. So how our clock in our brain resets is that by the sunlight. The sunlight hits our eyes and that resets our brain. Oh no, that's not good. Resets our brain. So what is my evaluation of the circadian rhythm? So I think I would recommend you to give it a go, particularly because of the So just a final point of clarification, just to kind of explain that 11-hour window, is that within that 11-hour window, you eat, then you drink your,